latest Planet X Nibiru 2016 Harrington papers, orbital charts, location possible with Jason from the Rebel Alliance project. Now, we dive into not only the Harrington papers, also at the beginning of the presentation, we talk about how in the Olympics, certain structures were set up at specific locations to harness ethereal energies. And you can actually see how it's intertwined like a circuit board. It's fascinating. And towards the second half of the show, Jason breaks out different charts, orbital paths, and information that he's compiled over the years from accumulating different academic papers from people such as Robert Harrington and others. Enjoy the presentation. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/clandestineTimeLord, and our new William Wallace channel. And if you go to leakproject.com, you will get access to exclusive content. If you become a contributing member, you'll get access to exclusive members section. And right now we're doing a promotion where, as an exclusive member or contributing member, you will get a very nice vinyl decal. These are about 4.5 inches in width, and they've got the Leak Project logo on there. Be the change you want to see underneath it. They're $10. Shipping's free in the United States. We do have to charge for shipping internationally. I'm sure you can understand that. But hey, $10, you get yourself a nice decal. You can use this to wake somebody up, put it on the back of your car. People will look at it. They'll say, "What's that?" You can give them a little story. Maybe you can unplug them. They can go unplug somebody else. And pretty soon we're going to have the 100 monkey syndrome turn into the 1 million monkey syndrome, where people just continue to unplug, and this domino effect where people start being the change they want to see. And I really appreciate all of the feedback that I got on the podcast I did recently where I shared a personal story. I still feel bad that I didn't reach out to those guys and at least have some material to give them as far as an insert goes. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do or what not to do. What I would like to present is opportunities, because a lot of times people don't think they have an option, or the options they've been given are falsified and inaccurate. So what I have done is copied 100 different pages. I've got 100 different copies of the flu vaccine insert so people can see for themselves. And next time I go out, I'll make sure to have a couple with me. So if I overhear somebody talking about a vaccine, I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm just going to say, hey, this is an insert. This is what you're going to be putting in your bloodstream. Maybe you'd be better off with a healthy immune system. I don't know. I'm not even going to give them my opinion. I'll just say, hey, read the insert. If you still think it's a good idea, I feel bad for you. Anyway, I'm just joking about that last part. But you guys get my point. I appreciate all the feedback. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Enjoy the presentation and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. And Jason, thanks a lot for joining us here at the Leak Project. How the heck are you?
Doing good. How you doing, Rex?
Hey, doing fantastic. I think that we've got some great data to bring to the table right now, so I'm going to turn off my video and let you present the facts here with the papers that you've got on the Harrington report and your thesis on different subjects as well.
All right. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring up a couple of things. You bring up the Saturn fact, and I like to bring up that yes, all the ancient knowledge that we have is focused around this black occult of the Saturn, this... Saturn worship is essential. It's actually the dark star, and a lot of people actually think that was at one point, or still is, the binary to our sun that died out, or possibly the trinary to our sun, because a lot of stars have those. Since this would have been an invading system, that most people think it would have been like a trinary and then captured, and that's why the orbit's explained after it goes through star phases. But it would still have, an orbital path around it. But that would explain a lot of the exoplanets to me, because as this thing goes around, it wouldn't be favoring one side per se. It'd be kind of like a spirograph, if you will, like circles around circles, and the orbit wouldn't be so predictable. But it doesn't seem that way from math. Like I said, there seems to be a cataclysm that happens worldwide about 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. You can date it back on the pyramids and all of them. Essentially every civilization wrote about it. Over 250 civilizations wrote about the same thing happening at the same time, so you can't really call it, false. I believe that Saturn's the center of a lot of the occult worship, and very misunderstood. And if we pull together a lot of our sources, like just like David Icke, Michael Teresian, and all these people that do their own research into the things, even Gerald Clark and all this. That's why I like the Leak Project. You bring all these people that get a nice narrow view of their own subject or something that was divinely inspiring to them, and then we get a wider picture from all this knowledge gained and get to see the comparisons through the numbers and everything, and it's just a great thing. But what we're looking at here is the Rio Olympics this year, and we were talking about occult astrology and all that stuff. Essentially, there's about 23 zodiacal signs throughout Washington, D.C. alone. So if you think of that, when you're considering a ritual is talking about alignment, place, time, and all that, if you have a city with a high murder rate and it's covered with astrological signs, then it doesn't matter. It just, the energy's going somewhere at some point if there's something going on there. But what we see here is a south-facing star, completely south-facing. Here's the compass. And we know that that means matter, you know, over like the spirit world. They're focusing on material objects. Like, it's the opposite of the divine one or the nature. And if you see that they actually cut the circle and put it into a point, there's probably something more in the like, ancient grimoires.
Well, you can see the triad right there. You've got the prong triad, and that represents obviously the Trinity. And then you've got the star there, the representation of, you can look at it as either reversed or not, but there's definitely some occult symbology there, and there is throughout time, space. If you look at all of the major cities, the way that the street systems are put in place, look at Paris, look at the big corporations, it oftentimes goes around sun worship, and that's just because obviously the sun has been around since the beginning of life, at least in this physical reality, and many ancient cultures worship the sun because without the sun, you wouldn't really have life, at least in this type of form.
Yeah, there's a lot of ancient cultures that actually said they lived here in a time of twilight, almost like a time of morning and daytime where the stars weren't near as bright in the sky, and then the sun went through an intense stage of heating, and you know they had to go into the caves and the rocks and things like that. So, but no, it's if you actually look that if you face the south, it means material world and physical world over the godly or the nature world. That's all it is. You're just aiming the energy a different direction, and it completely has to do with south or north, and that's and it's hanging from a pendulum. If you look at DC, they do the same thing. They hang it from a pendulum from an owl, and one of the lines from this is like, it's almost like a circuit board. It crosses into the circle and then divides it in half. It's I mean, it's there, it's blatant, and we know the Olympic Games have been pre-planned and dated and all that for all over since like the beginning of civilization, essentially, I guess. And it's just something to really think about. You know, all these people watching, all this energy, they know the date, and it's predetermined. It's every 4 years. What's up with every 4 years, every 2 years? Like, they could totally be a ritual. But the next thing I wanted to go... Oh,
real quick before you jump that, though, the circuit board thing you're talking about here, it's funny, the synchronicities, because I talked to Wal Thornhill yesterday from thunderboltprojects.info. This guy's got a great YouTube channel as well. Thunderbolts Project got almost 70,000 subscribers, and he dives into the electric universe theory, and the way that he put it together was absolutely incredible, referring to galactic circuit boards and everything being connected at an electric level, essentially talking about the speed of gravity being 20 billion times the speed of light. And it just kind of correlates with what we're looking at right now with the symbology combined with the architecture. You connect the etheric realms with the physical realms. What Jason's talking about is it pointing south. And what he's saying is referring to the materialistic realms. For example.
But what I got here is TX68. This is going back to the date line that I gave you guys was 9/23 to 2017 to October 5th. Which I wanted to go over is it coincides with the dates, basically. So this literally means the day of the blasting is the first day, and that begins at midnight on the 23rd of 2017.
So is that September?
Yeah, September 23rd, 2017 would be the
Rosh
70th
Hashanah.
one since the 70th, like the Jubilee of it, like basically the holy, you know, the 70th one since like Jews got Israel or whatever too. So it's kind of creepier when you really think about it, because they tell you about all this stuff in there predictively, but it kind of reverse goes in order. But the next one's the Day of Atonement, and this is about halfway through, and I believe this one was just about the same day as this thing passes by. And then Sukkot, yeah, something like that.
Suck it, is that what you said?
Sukkot. It looks like suck it. It does. It does look like suck it.
Mr. Damas. It's Dumas.
Sorry. Succus.
That was funny, man. That was funny.
It is. It's succus. It's succus. Succus. There you go.
Bonsai!
Succus. But I'm not making fun of anybody's religion or heritage or anything like that. I just am not Hebrew and I can't pronounce words.
And I was just making fun of you, so.
It's even funnier. All right. This one is the weird one because it has like 3 or 4 like translations, like the Feast of the Tabernacles, the like Feast of the Ingathering at the year's end, meaning like there's like kind of like a Feast of Exiles or those left behind or something like that. I've read multiple interpretations of it, but this actually starts next year on October 5th, the day that I said that the moon could actually possibly scientifically turn red and, you know, be in the place where it could turn red and the sun be blocked out if there was an object in the vicinity. The only time it would make sense because the moon would be in front of us enough, but it would be lit up enough that it would actually turn blood red and yada yada. But yeah, it's kind of funny that the dates go backwards towards it. But this thing is supposed to come 11,000 miles from Earth, something like that. They estimated between 10 being the lowest and like 1 million being the highest. And they give like 4 dates for its flyby because they know it's like going to pass us a couple times, unless they're naming the same object a couple times. Who knows? I really don't know. It's got an orbital period, 781 days now. So yeah, I guess it is going around. And wow, I did just notice that when I looked at it. It's kind of funny. It's got an orbital period of its own, so they know it's getting closer. If they're watching this thing and saying the number is getting closer, when they say the next flyby, they gave the next 2 flybys. I think there was one in March and one the next one after that was to the 28th of September 28th, 2017. You can look this all up. And the last thing I wanted to go over was Location of Planet X by Robert S. Harrington. And he was, of course, the lead astronomer at the astronomical, you know, the Naval Observatory, and he was also doing some stuff with NASA and all that, but he was the lead observer. And he got this thing, he had a colleague and some others search over a part of the sky, well, the whole sky, and a swath for 16 years. If you read over it, it says basically they eliminated where it wasn't by using a method called Inky's method, if you look right here. And I really think that's funny, because that's that comment that me and you were talking about, and I said it raised suspicion. I said we'd want to watch that one and another one, 67P, because they both have really suspicious orbits and funny names and times that they pop up into us even discovering them or caring about them. But yeah, they literally can assume from the perturbations that if you go to the next point, he actually gives you information that here's the perihelion and here's the axis, here's the eccentricity of the orbit, meaning like the angle and the imperfection of the circle, 0 or 1. I believe it's 0 being perfect, 1 being like completely terrible, like straight line or something. Argument perihelion is 2.85. It says it's 4 Earth masses. It's -6 magnitude, and it's like saying they're assuming that, but he was saying in between the 14th and 15th parallel, and then you go to the -41 degrees south, and just that would be a rough estimate if you used 16 hours and -38 magnitude 14, like as a rough region for searching. And astronomers and amateurs or anybody with the telescope or Google Maps could look up coordinates of these just from this paper. And he wants to give an extra special thanks to Tom Van Flandern, whoever that is, for saying, hey, Planet X might be real. But he also says there's an orbital period of 1,019 years. And I wanted to show people that. He's saying 4 Earth masses and 1,000-year rough estimate. So there you go. And yeah, I think that's interesting because he released this about 4 years before the Sitchin interview. So this is when he really started taking off into it. And he went to New Zealand and doing all these crazy hikes up very steep, rigorous terrain. I mean, like we're talking like 10, 15,000 feet above sea level. And he's built like a linebacker. And 3 months later, he dies after doing this expedition in great health. Yeah, it's you don't get cancer like that. You can, I guess, but it's just the whole thing was suspicious if you really look back at it. And do you have anything else you'd like to talk about, Rex?
Well, I find it interesting because I have heard all those stories before about what happened to him and how he was in great health. He went and did this expedition, then 3 months later he dies.
Yeah.
But that doesn't convince me that the official story of why he, was given the cancer essentially. I mean, it could have been a million things. He could have discovered something completely different, and what we're hearing about on the internet is like a smear campaign, or it's like that disinformation thing. You got to be real skeptical about that. So, and if it's 1,000 years away from his projections, then
No, that's a 1,000-year orbital period. He was saying it was what was the distance? I completely remember. He was giving a rough estimate that beat Sitchin's by I think like 50 or some years. I think it was like late 2018, 2019 would be like a close arrival, something like that. And you can look that up even, because he was saying the perihelion and aphelion measurements. He was giving the furthest away distance and the closest distance, and he was actually approximating 3 different speeds. I'll show you. I'm trying to find the actual. He filed, I believe, 2 more papers after this, and I'm trying to dig for them, but they're apparently pretty hard to find.
you can't just did you Google Harrington papers?
You got to pay for some of them. That is, some of them, once you start looking, you got to find the school you went to, the place it was submitted to, like the Astronomical Society, or where it was actually submitted to. And then, so if you like look into videos and you can see a stamp on a video or something, that's how I found a lot of cool stuff about Carlos Ferrata. I found out that he sent all his stuff to a Chilean observatory. So that's why nobody was getting this stuff. It was just locked away in a vault in Chile, essentially. But if you look up their library, you could find all the stuff. But yeah, some of the pages, they actually make you pay for, just to use the article for, for 3 or 4 days, or download it for 3 or 4 days, something like that. You got to pay $10 or so. And it's kind of a harder process than it is like checking out a library book or Google searching. But yeah, I'll stay vigilant and keep the search up for sure. I just found this one, a couple days ago. So you think about that, I've been looking for it for a while, and I knew they were out there.
Some other stuff too. I've noticed you've put some orbital charts together on your page, on your channel, on Master Jace channel. Did you want to share a couple of those with us?
But here they are. This is the first kind of, I'll go through a little overview of them all. Not just kind of show you, but I kind of showed how if we were in a binary star system, there's basically 1 of 2 orbits you can go, and there's multiple ways you could go with those orbits, but the projection of it is essentially, if these things were rotating at a balanced speed, like you could actually put a stick through them essentially and be like a bicycle spoke, they'd always be around the same distance apart unless there was an eccentric part of the orbit where the masses started pulling each other together because of outer orbits of planets and so on. But there's a center of gravity we can see like this right here. So there's always a point where they can cross that and be closer to that center of gravity, or closer to another line than they would have been at the other part in this line. And the idea of all these complex orbits, and this one is the yellow one. This one's like an admitted orbit about planet 9. They're calling it the 99.9% planet. It's got an orbit similar to that. And they basically just drew a line through every mysterious orbit of every exoplanet in our system and kind of just gave us that. But they know it's there. And the odd thing is they projected this planet to be like a couple thousand years out on the wrong side of the solar system than all the other planets. So like, the more and more I looked at it, the more and more it raised more questions. But you can see if this orbit, if their center of gravity was, like they say, in a regular center of mass, there'd be a point where a planet could actually cross into the orbit as opposed to being at the sides where they're further apart, like in this diagram. All right, so I drew circles around them, showing you how these planets wouldn't cross each other. But Nibiru is actually known as the planet of the crossing. And this is a 13,000-year cycle. We know it's for the halfway mark, because you'd either be at the top or the bottom, essentially. So it wouldn't matter if you were here or if you were here. It's still 13,000 years to get there, because the whole cycle is 26,000. And we know that from the Mayan calendar, science, many, many things tell us this. We know we go through this galactic cycle. So, and we know that destruction of humanity, Atlantis, the fall of many civilizations happened about 13,000 years ago. So you can say what you want about that. Some people actually get into the math and say it's around 11,900 and some to be precise, or 1,250, 500 some to be actual super precise if you wanted to get into carbon dating and carbon 4 and all that carbon dating and things like that, which only gives you the surface depth and age. So like, say if we're doing carbon dating on the the inscriptions on the tombs inside of Egypt, which are like rose quartz and things that we still to this day can't cut without diamond blade technology and power tools. You see the crudely done engravings on them. You realize it was done by somebody later, and we're carbon dating where they scratched the surface, not the actual stone. And like just the whole ancient monolithic period, it points to them astrology being born essentially about 13,000 years ago or more in the sign of Cancer. It doesn't go back as far as people believe. I think the whole thing about the Sphinx being a lion and them equating that to the zodiacal house is impossible because there was no zodiacal house cycles at the time that the Sphinx was built. So how could it be built in the time of Leo when its tilt was straight up and down? We have proof of this. The times don't match. The zodiacal houses were built and created in the time of Cancer the Crab, and you can go back and look through all of the ancient hieroglyphs of Egypt, and they'll tell you like straight to that. You can actually look and there's many books about this. But anyways, it starts to form in what you would look as an atom almost, and the orbits start becoming eccentric when they get to this skinny part because they start pulling towards each other. It's the alignment. So if you had one orbit that was longer, it would be the plane of the crossing. It wouldn't necessarily have to follow this red or this yellow orbit and orbit both suns like they say Planet 9 does. It could just be a planet of crossing. It can literally cross like this with the lead planet does, the red orbit, and that's in between, you know, where the asteroid belt is essentially. Blam, destroy Tiamat, whatever, and the whole thing's proof. And whether the aliens or, you know, the Anunnaki or Marduk actually destroyed it, and you want to take Marduk because he named himself the planet, or did they actually destroy the planet physically with some kind of weapon? That's up to you to interpret, and I'm not here to judge you for that. But I'm just showing you that every 13,000 years, if you were in this center of mass, there's a good chance that these things would have a path that would intersect every 13,000 years, no matter one was at the top or one was at the bottom. Now, this chart kind of goes along with the best I could interpret a long-ass picture of Carlos Ferrata and his ingenious work, which he's actually predicted all the all the great seismic activity associated with this system that's happening today. And not only that, he triangulated the positions. I'll give you a quick map of this down here. Right here, he said we'd be seeing them around this place, around here, which is Chile, and up here. We just seen an earthquake, a 6.0 earthquake just off the shore of Greece and France, and just the other day. We have them all the time over here in Japan, and Chile is being destroyed with them, like it's the past couple years. He showed that the solar systems, which this one he actually had names of the planets like Tylon, Empelon, Fema, Megama, Epsilon, Sol, like the second sun, and he showed that when these things got closer together, the solar system started to look more like an atom because not everything was in a perfect circle at that point, always following the same thing. Everything's at a different point. So if there's more of a force pulling you and you're on the farther side, then that changes your course and pulls you in a more straight line towards it. So they start looking like nucleuses of atoms and cells, and that duality of nature comes back. I almost guarantee you cannot have a solar system, a star system, or anything without a binary, because you wouldn't have two stars. The star wouldn't be born without the twin. It's essentially just like the birth of the cell or the atom. If you go into the physics of it, I want to go that there's a couple actual ways that you could do it. These things could actually, like I said, kind of rotate on almost like a stick, or they could rotate essentially like this, or they could rotate in a complete ball opposite of each other like a yin-yang, where they never ever, if they're really equally balanced, going the same speed, they would essentially, if you were living on the opposite side of that rotation, you wouldn't even see the other star, because it would be like three pool balls and always rotating that third pool ball around. And basically the line of sight, because the ball in the middle is always there, you won't be able to see it. And then that would make sense to why people get good photos of things like that popping up behind the sun. But essentially, here's Harrington's chart and the predictions. Here's Comet Ison. I just wanted to kind of give different things. But when you really talk about physics, it essentially breaks down to a tornado. That's it. A low pressure system. And if a low pressure system starts feeding itself with an outward spiral, that slip knot that Richard Allen Miller was talking about, Dr. Ram, he's talking about that slip knot in the plasma fields. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the 7 knots inside the 5 out. It's essentially, this thing would start feeding itself, the caduceus, the plasma field, the kundalini, the nature, physics completely boils down to this. That's it. That's it. And that's the birth of a solar system. Everything has the same rotation. So yes, if you flip this upside down, it'll look like it's spinning the opposite way. But essentially, that's what they're talking about when they're talking about building or igniting the fire in the mind with the Cherokee and the Jed pillar and all that. They're talking about creating a low pressure system in your mind and making it feed itself through a slip knot. Seriously, basically projecting your plasma in your energy consciousness to feed itself with a high pressure system at the bottom. So the low pressure just comes up in the same pattern, rotates around this, and feeds the high pressure. And we see this with hurricanes out over the water. They feed themselves when they're on hot water. Essentially, they're a self-sustaining plasma field at that point. And when you do that, you can project your memory into it and essentially become immortal. That's what the Emerald Tablets tell us. That's what the Egyptian Book of the Dead tell us. That's what the Bible tells us. That's what science tells us. It's all there. It's the golden means, the ratio. It's there. It's present. It is only a manifestation of nature, and it is essentially, like I said, physics. This is physics. Physics is a tornado. And if you really look into it, you kind of understand what I'm saying by that. But yeah, that's why the duality of the universe, these two star systems. Well, a catastrophe. The word disaster and catastrophe. Take them to their Latin roots. Dis meaning no, astro, star, no star. Catastrophe, I believe they're talking about like a cataclysm of the star. They're literally, both of those word representations have to do with a really bad thing happening with the star. And we relate them both in our psyche with bad things happening anywhere in life. So, I mean, that's not a coincidence. So, yeah, kind of like this brown right here is the asteroid belt. The red orbits Mars, the green's Jupiter, the blue's Earth. And essentially, he said this thing, Carlos Ferrada said he had this thing, 3 speeds. We're rotating this way right, this thing's rotating this way right, and whatever, like everything's going just in the tornado. But this thing has 3 speeds. After it reaches the halfway point here going towards us, it speeds up to, he said, 1,000th of the speed of light. And it's revolving around this, I think like 96, 98 kilometers a second, something like that, but you don't know the orbital period or how big the orbital path is. But he's saying it has 3 speeds. This speed right here, once you're coming towards, and then right here after you're going away, it slows down again. So it's constantly rotating this, coming towards us, and it's what he said wiped out Atlantis. And he actually predicted that Hale-Bopp comet would get pulled into the sun essentially towards the last second and change its trajectory from how it's been known for our whole civilization. And he predicted that. He predicted an earthquake 4 hours before it happened. He gave the hour. He said 6 o'clock. It happened at 10. People died. Hundreds and thousands. Just people died. And he predicted it ahead of time. With paperwork, just like he sent, what our Robert Harrington sent in. Same thing. He sent in the paperwork, and everybody takes him for a fool.
Huh.
It's pretty much all I have to really go over on this. But I'd like to do a show with you on like that Jed pillar and like, you know, kind of the Kundalini and the serpent and that whole idea, so I could kind of show the symbolism and where, because you're very versed on it too, and I just feel like we could collaborate really good on that and kind of give people some understanding to this old symbolism and this esoteric knowledge to get from even the religious symbolism and the flower of life symbols and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely put something together. I've got encyclopedia of work on symbolism, sidzils, hermetics, all sorts of good stuff. The Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, turning sounds into reality, the Key to the True Kabbalah by Franz Barden, that book in itself. If you're at that level, let's just say this, you are a true magi, like what Doc Ram was talking about the other day. If you can actually repeat words and manifest reality with just the sound, it's incredible. And Franz Barden actually talks about that in his compilation of books. He put together 3 of the most amazing books involved with hermetics that anybody could ever have a chance to take a look at. If you were to read just one of his books, there's more information on what real magic is, not, you know, dogmatic, ritualistic type stuff, but how to actually create with your mind. It would just, if you could even do 1/10 of what he talks about, and he gives you practical applications and exercises to take on a daily basis to get to that level, then you could do things that would just blow your mind. Stuff that right now you probably would think would be impossible just because we've been so unplugged from what our true possibilities are because of this plastic matrix and these giant empires of dirt that are around us.
That's a nice way to put it. It seriously is. We essentially in my belief, in my research, the 13,000 years ago when this thing happened, and we can look at a lot of the text, that's when we were essentially, our plasma field was wiped out with our memory. We went through a cataclysm that we weren't ready for, essentially. Our plasma fields weren't stable, and we were wiped. We don't remember we forgot who we are, essentially. And you can remember, it just takes discipline. And you need to have that mental and physical hygiene to actually try and push those boundaries and read this esoteric knowledge and take in some new perspective, as you said, and realize that, we're working backwards. We're trying to solve what these guys already had, what we already just put together, the pieces of the puzzle of what we are and why we're here, because we knew at one point. It's obvious. Look at ourselves. Look at all right, go to Egypt and see those people, the statues that, like I was talking about, out of the rose quartz or the granite and things like that are polished, that have like head tails, essentially like the Twi'leks from Star Wars and things like that, and they're dating back like 25,000 years, and there's obvious marks like inside like the nostrils and things like that. Like if I was to use a diamond bit tool, or if I was grinding stone or concrete at work to get the same effect, or if I wanted to put a structure or a rod or a support into some stone or bedrock that's already there, it's the same thing I'd do. And you can see the evidence there when you just look at the videos or you see the scientists, and the precision is outrageous. It's beyond our manufacturing skills today. Like we go down into like 2/1000ths of a micrometer of an inch of like, basically if you take a really super precision instrument and you can hold it against something and not see light through it, then it's within that spec, and that's what you can do with a lot of their work, and it's crazy. We can't copy it today. And it's just, we need to find out who we are. I really think that this, the Leak Project and all of this is, where the truth starts, where we all are able to share our opinions and not be judged, not, and just everybody, the information gets out there, and you share your opinion. You're not forcing or imposing opinions on the public. You're just giving information, man, and that's really cool. I appreciate that.
Right on, man. It's always nice talking to you, Jason, and we'll definitely stay in touch. Make sure to check out the Rebel Alliance Project. That's the name of your channel now, right? The Rebel Alliance Project?
Yeah, the Alliance Project, the Rebellion, Rebel Alliance.
Okay.
It's all that. It's, whatever for now. Just the YouTube channels and doing some things it's a hobby of mine right now, and, I like talking to you guys and talking to the authors and the people that are out there, and it's just, I want to follow my heart, man, and, seek the knowledge. So.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with seeking knowledge. That certainly has changed my life over the past 20 years, finding these new bits of information. And the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know anything. So thanks for joining us, Jason. Folks, make sure to check out leakproject.com. Also check out our YouTube channels, youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord, as well as the William Wallace channel. We have content updated daily. And if you become a member at leakproject.com, you'll get access to exclusive podcasts, as well as special discounts and promotions offered only for Leak Project members. Be the change you want to see, and have a fantastic day, folks. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. Latest Planet X Nibiru 2016 Harrington Papers, Orbital Charts, Location Possible with Jason from the Rebel Alliance Project. Now, we dive into not only the Harrington Papers, also at the beginning of the presentation, we talk about how in the Olympics, certain structures were set up at specific locations to harness ethereal energies. And you can actually see how it's intertwined like a circuit board. It's fascinating. And towards the second half of the show, Jason breaks out different charts, orbital paths, and information that he's compiled over the years from accumulating different academic papers from people such as Robert Harrington and others. Enjoy the presentation. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord, and our new William Wallace channel. And if you go to leakproject.com, you will get access to exclusive content. If you become a contributing member, you'll get access to exclusive members section. And right now we're doing a promotion where, as an exclusive member or contributing member, you will get a very nice vinyl decal. These are about 4.5 inches in width, and they've got the Leak Project logo on there. Be the change you want to see underneath it. They're $10. Shipping's free in the United States. We do have to charge for shipping internationally. I'm sure you can understand that. But hey, $10, you get yourself a nice decal. You can use this to wake somebody up, put it on the back of your car. People will look at it. They'll say, "What's that?" You can give them a little story. Maybe you can unplug them. They can go unplug somebody else. And pretty soon we're going to have the 100 monkey syndrome turn into the 1 million monkey syndrome, where people just continue to unplug, and this domino effect where people start being the change they want to see. And I really appreciate all of the feedback that I got on the podcast I did recently where I shared a personal story. I still feel bad that I didn't reach out to those guys and at least have some material to give them as far as an insert goes. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do or what not to do. What I would like to present is opportunities, because a lot of times people don't think they have an option, or the options they've been given are falsified and inaccurate. So what I have done is copied 100 different pages. I've got 100 different copies of the flu vaccine insert so people can see for themselves. And next time I go out, I'll make sure to have a couple with me. So if I overhear somebody talking about a vaccine, I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm just going to say, hey, this is an insert. This is what you're going to be putting in your bloodstream. Maybe you'd be better off with a healthy immune system. I don't know. I'm not even going to give them my opinion. I'll just say, hey, read the insert. If you still think it's a good idea, I feel bad for you. Anyway, I'm just joking about that last part. But you guys get my point. I appreciate all the feedback. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Enjoy the presentation and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. And Jason, thanks a lot for joining us here at the Leak Project. How the heck are you?
Doing good. How you doing, Rex?
Hey, doing fantastic. I think that we've got some great data to bring to the table right now, so I'm going to turn off my video and let you present the facts here with the papers that you've got on the Harrington report and your thesis on different subjects as well.
All right. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring up a couple of things. You bring up the Saturn fact, and I like to bring up that yes, all the ancient knowledge that we have is focused around this black occult of the Saturn. You know, Saturn worship is essential. It's actually the dark star, and a lot of people actually think that was at one point, or still is, the binary to our sun that died out, or possibly the trinary to our sun, because a lot of stars have those. Since this would have been an invading system, that most people think it would have been like a trinary and then captured, and that's why the orbit's explained after it goes through star phases. But it would still have, you know, an orbital path around it. But that would explain a lot of the exoplanets to me, because as this thing goes around, it wouldn't be favoring one side per se. It'd be kind of like a spirograph, if you will, like circles around circles, and the orbit wouldn't be so predictable. But it doesn't seem that way from math. Like I said, there seems to be a cataclysm that happens worldwide about 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. You can date it back on the pyramids and all of them. I mean, essentially every civilization wrote about it. Over 250 civilizations wrote about the same thing happening at the same time. So you can't really call it, you know, false. You know, I believe that Saturn's the center of a lot of the occult worship, and very misunderstood. And if we pull together a lot of our sources, like you know, just like David Icke, Michael Teresian,